Oh, god dang it.
Damn dirty.
Yo, this is Blake from Green Knuckles Across. On this week's Fogo Friday, we are reviewing the Tribe 7 Ghost 7. Before I get into the video, I'd like to apologize for the lighting and area that I'm shooting in. I'm usually in my room in Philly, but now I'm down in Tampa for the holidays, so bear with me. So the Tribe 7 Ghost 7 was definitely one of the most popular heads during its time, and we can all agree that within the past few years, the head has definitely fallen off the grid. But I'm here to bring it back. Maybe. Ghost 7 was definitely known for how flexible it is. It's easily the most flexible head I've ever faced off with. It is also the lightest head I've ever faced off with and the cheapest head I've ever faced off with. The Ghost 7 retails at $50 unstrung on the Tribe 7 website. That's a great deal. You can get two of these for the price of one CEO. A few features that stood out to me when I first looked at the Ghost 7 was the throat. The throat is definitely one of the longer throats I've ever used. It's a tad bit longer than the CEO's throat, but not too much longer. And the last feature would be the fact that there's only one sidewall strut throughout the entire head. A lot of heads that are good for face-offs are either one or two things. They're either all supported up here, or they're all supported down here. It's very hard to find a head that has supports here and here, or let alone just one right in the middle. I thought that was pretty cool with the head. It's definitely a very unique feature. Now it does have its pros and cons for having one strut, but we'll get into that later. We're not gonna do our traditional flex test with the head from all different angles, see how it looks. So after doing the flex test on the Ghost 7, if there's one thing I can say about the head is you definitely need to stuff the throat. In other words, you can't just clamp down with the ball halfway in the head. It needs to be down here in the throat in order to perform a perfect pinch on the head. That's just one of the things that I noticed when I was facing off with it, as well as Hunter said the same exact thing. And we also both agreed upon the fact that the head isn't good if it doesn't have this kink in it. This kink is pretty much its breaking in sign. Once it has this kink, it's perfectly broken in, and that's when we like it the most. After the flex test, we did run it through the dummy stick, did a few reps on it, and at first we both agreed that this head would be an absolute piece of crap for this drill. It's very hard for a head that's this flexible to win a ball that's already clamped by your opponent, but we were actually extremely surprised. Instead of this head actually knocking off the other head like most face-off heads would, this one actually just slipped right under the dummy stick. And to me that happens because of the one strut design. The head's able to collapse under the opponent's head, and the sidewall rails are just so thin that it can just slip right under as well. We also tried the pinching rake on the dummy stick, and although it did execute it pretty well, I think in game time situations it's not going to work at all. The head's too flexible to actually swipe at the ball. It was able to get a good pinch on it, but as far as the raking portion of the movement, it won't work out. After all the testing, the flex test, and the dummy stick test, I did notice that this head flexes a lot like the CEO. So when we bend the head like we're taking a face-off, you'll notice that the right sidewall juts out and the left sidewall collapses in, and it collapses in fairly low on the head towards the bottom of the throat. And when we do the same thing with the CEO, it has the same exact motion. The right sidewall juts out, the left sidewall juts in, and it juts in pretty low in the throat. Another thing too, if you did the same thing but looked at it sideways, it kind of does have that face flex similar to a CEO, but not as drastic, but it still kind of feels the same. But both heads do have a similar flex point, and they both pretty much do the same action when it comes to wrapping itself around the ball. And to me, at this point, I think that the Ghost 7 is the most comparable head to the CEO as of now. And like I said before, the throats are almost similar in length. That was pretty much the only other similarity I had. And just the warping on them, they both kink to the left. I thought they were just pretty similar. Now, differences with the head was actually pretty obvious, and that also comes down to the one strut sidewall design. So we did a flexibility test with both the CEO and the Ghost 7. We had Hunter line up on the ball and just clamp down straight down so where the ball would end up halfway in his head. And then we pulled the scoop back towards his right hand. And with the Ghost 7, the ball was completely exposed, and when we did it with the Nike CEO, it was the same exact thing. But in a game time situation, you're never just going to clamp down on the ball straight down. You're going to shoot down the line and get that ball in your throat. So that's what we did for our next test. We did the same thing with the Ghost 7. We shot down the line, we pulled the scoop back towards our right hand, and about 40 to 50% of the ball was exposed. And we did the same exact thing with the CEO, but unlike the Ghost 7, the ball was completely secured in the throat. So to me, that's a huge disadvantage for the Ghost 7. It's just simply not stiff enough to keep that ball in the throat if you hold it in there too long. Now, if you just win the clamp and get the ball out, you don't have to worry about your opponent spinning on you and possibly jamming you, which replicates the whole bending of the head backwards. So you wouldn't have to worry about that disadvantage if you get out in time. We're only able to find one advantage of using the Ghost 7 over the CEO, and that is how low the head stays to the ground. So when we lined up, we measured the distance of how high the left sidewall was from the ground. We did that in the middle of the head, and we did that in the throat of the head for both the Ghost 7 and the CEO. And it was very obvious that the Ghost 7 sidewall is a lot lower and closer to the ball than the CEO. It was actually almost half an inch lower. So that means it lowers the amount of time you need to get that left sidewall over the ball, which in turn you have full possession of the ball and you're able to get out of there no problem. So to me, that's a huge advantage if you can lower the distance from the left sidewall to the ground. It just allows you to get to the ball faster. Now, the biggest disadvantage with the Ghost 7, once again relating to the one strut sidewall design, is it's too flexible to battle. If you're a guy who loves to grind and overpower his opponent, you should definitely never ever use this head. If you catch yourself going against an opponent that is just as fast as you and you have to battle with them, do not use this head at all. The head just isn't stiff enough in the sidewall structure, and that's just a further explanation to the pulling back of the scoop test we did earlier. Another disadvantage with the Ghost 7 is the ground balls. This head definitely does perform better on turf. You don't have to worry about divots and bumps if you were to play on normal grass, which I don't recommend using this head for normal grass. If you do use this on turf, you do increase your chances of scooping up a ground ball. Other than that, the chance of you scooping up a ground ball with the Ghost 7 on the fly is close to none. And the one last disadvantage we found with the head, once again relating to the flexibility in it, is the inability to catch with it. If you go to receive a pass from your teammate and you catch it somewhere up here in the shooting string area, the ball is just gonna hit this head and it's going to bend right back, it's going to go flying out. You pretty much have to catch the ball directly in half of the head and down. And those passes aren't going to be perfect every time, so I do think that's a huge disadvantage with the flexibility of the head. Overall, I think it's a great head for the speed face-off guy. If you're a guy who likes to grind or pinch and rake, I would not waste your time on getting this head. But if you do like to just clamp the ball, not waste any time, and get out as fast as possible, or you find yourself smoking your opponent every time, go ahead and give this head a shot. It's only $50. You can't go wrong. And the last point I have on this head is how well it handles in cold weather. So to start, it's very hard to actually crack a Ghost 7. If you crack a Ghost 7, I don't know how you did it. I've never cracked one before. I've never seen one crack before. So they're easily one of the most durable heads on the market. So with that being said, your heads also tend to stiffen up a lot. And to me, when I play in cold games, my CEO just gets way too stiff for my liking. It's almost like I'm facing off with a brand new CEO, which we all know is way too stiff. So my whole logic is to find a head that is normally a lot more flexible than the CEO, which is a Ghost 7, and play with this in the cold weather so it feels like an already broken in CEO in the cold environment. So to answer the question, will I add this head to my gear bag? Yes, for sure. I'm definitely adding this head to my gear bag. If I was to rate the Ghost 7 out of 5 stars, I would give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It wouldn't be a 5 out of 5 because I think it's just a little bit too flexible. Be sure to go on Tribe 7's website, check out all their gear and products that they have. Obviously, my favorite is the Ghost 7, so be sure to check that out. And that's it for this week's Fogo Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any more questions on the Ghost 7 or any questions in general, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and check us out on Instagram at GreenKnucklesLacrosse. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week. Till then, kids, get them dirty.